can I come in?
Come in.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Please have your seat.
Thank you, sir.
Priya Purohit.
Yes, sir.
Can you please introduce yourself, Priya?
Sir, my name is Priya Purohit. I am born and brought up in Kolkata, and I have graduated from Xaviers College in Commerce, and from 2021 onwards, I have been preparing for civil services. Sir, as a person, I like social events. I like to mingle with people, and recently I have picked up this hobby of listening podcast on spirituality and Indian mythology, sir.
Okay. That's all about yourself. Nothing more to say? Anything important you missed out?
Sir, about my schooling, I can say that also I did in Kolkata from Maheshwari Balika Vidyalaya. And sir, apart from that, I can also speak of the extracurricular activities that I have been part of. I have taken multiple internships right from the second year of my college. I also worked for around 1 year after my graduation, sir.
Okay. What about the reason for joining civil services, Priya? I would like to know that also in your introduction. Why you want to join civil services?
So for me, civil services has been a career option since class 12. And for me, I want to become part of that development part, because as we are growing in a nation, we can have multiple fields where we can contribute. And sir, my inclination is towards the civil services path.
Define civil services to me. The phrase civil services.
So civil services means that as a civil servant, a person has to take or undergo various services which is for the people, for the civilians. And for that, there will be multiple services on law and order and administration. So it comprises these services.
Why do we need civil service in India? We have a democratic society. We all can manage ourselves.
Sir, in any nation, and especially in a developing nation, as the policies are made from the top, as the schemes are made, it needs to be implemented at the grassroots level. And for that, there are multiple areas, whether the administration at the panchayat level, at the block or at the district level, coming to also the overall law and order, policing. So for that, a control is required, along with civilians.
Okay. A democratic control or authoritative civil service. Which kind of civil service is suitable to India?
So it is the democratic way of service that will suit.
Do you think it is effective? What is democratic?
So democratic, it is suited, and it also bring out the effective result. However, there might be certain delay in the time of implementation in terms of decision making. But ultimately, the overall idea to have people in the decision making. So that is reflected through this.
What are the major features of a good marketing plan?
So a good marketing plan, it starts with understanding the product fit. Here, product can be any good and service. So that product fit, it should understand, is there any demand in the market, and do people want to purchase it? What kind of people wants to purchase? So it comes the targeting part. And so thirdly, if that product can be viable, if it can be produced on a sustainable basis, long-term basis. And so largely, I would say also the communication, if it can be communicated effectively.
Okay. Your mother is from Chhattisgarh.
Yes.
Which is the capital of Chhattisgarh?
So it is Naya Raipur.
Naya Raipur. How is Naya Raipur different from Purana Raipur?
So the Naya Raipur city, it is a planned city, and it is also part of the smart city mission. So the overall construction and the expansion of city is happening on a very planned manner compared to the old part.
What is the current allocation of Government of India for Smart City project?
So the current allocation is not coming in mind.
Okay. Uh, who is the person responsible to manage smart city at district level?
So it is the district executive, specifically the district magistrate or the collector at the district.
So basically an IAS officer,
Yes.
something which you are aspiring for.
Yes.
So how, what is your plan and how you plan to implement smart city, and how you plan to make a city smart, which is not currently that smart enough?
So, in my understanding, first I would, from the technical point, through that maybe a special purpose vehicle. In my capacity, few areas that I would like to focus on. So, first is the existing, the brownfield projects or existing buildings or locations that can be leveraged for beautification or monetization. So, second part would be the new projects that is required on the expansion part on the periphery. And so, thirdly, a city should become smart by the new age technologies, the CCTV, the drone. So that it becomes part of the ease of living in the city. So that will be my priority.
Can you explain to me spirituality in simple words? I'm not a spiritual person. Can you make me convinced that I should be more spiritual in my daily life?
So spirituality, it comes from that word spirit, which means a person is able to connect with the inner spirit. It can be the inner understanding of an individual, and overall it means to connect with the higher purpose in life, a higher God maybe in life. So for anybody who is religious or non-religious, understanding oneself or understanding to connect with the world around us, maybe nature or a god. So that is very useful in self-awareness. So,
What is the difference between spirituality and mythology?
so spirituality, as I said, it is about that personal quest for finding or connecting with the spirit or soul. So whereas mythology is about the stories about the gods, the legends that has been part of religion or a popular culture in a society for a very long time.
Why do we need technological intervention to connect with spirituality? In today's time, why are we relying on everything on podcasts and all? Do we really need to listen to podcasts, or being, meditative, being alone and connecting with God is more natural way?
So I see that technology is important in terms of connecting, because in today's time there are multiple ideas that are available through internet. So and specifically sir, the younger generation like myself. So there are various, because when I was a child I used to hear this from my grandparents, but today I don't have that benefit. So through internet I associate or connect with such multiple kathas, bhajans. So sir, I think it is a very useful tool.
Any side effect of it, technology, which you can think of?
So at times the personal application part, sir, as you said that the personal space of meditation, at times that is cut, and a person might become too much dependent on a ritualistic thing on technology.
Okay. You have mentioned that you have associated with entrepreneurship programs, right?
Yes, sir.
Can you explain to me the what do you mean by the term social entrepreneurship?
Sir, social entrepreneurship is a concept where it is about running a business, but with a clear objective why we are running a business. If it is for a social purpose, for example, hunger, poverty, even environment, so that sort of business model is social entrepreneurship.
And any particular name of companies which are doing good work in social entrepreneurship?
So there is one for-profit company called the Solar Celco India, started by Harish Hande in early 2000. That's a profitable company for the solar products in the rural India. So second is a online platform called Better India. It is also for-profit platform, but on a social entrepreneur model.
What do you mean by bonds?
So bonds are instruments, financial instruments through which finance can be raised in form of debt.
Okay. How are they different from equities?
So equity are also tools to raise money, but those who give money through equity, they become the owner of that enterprise, whereas in bond, the ownership is not given.
Can political parties invest in bonds?
So if it is through legal and rightful way, they can certainly get into bonds and raise money.
Are you sure about it?
So the political parties can raise money through bonds like electoral bonds. So,
Are there no restrictions on that
so
in
the,
recent times?
so the maximum restriction is still not there. On the multiples of rupees 1,000 to 1 crore, they can raise any amount.
Okay. What is the current population of Kolkata?
So as per recent reports, it says it is around 10.42 crores.
Kolkata.
Sorry, sir. I mistaken as West Bengal. So it is around Kolkata. Taking the other areas, it is around 1 crore.
In India, where Kolkata ranks in terms of population?
So currently, I am not able to recall that.
Tell me three major social issues of Bengal in the order in which you think the issues are relevant and serious, the seriousness of the matter.
So one issue is about the child marriage. That has also been reflected in the recent National Family Health Survey. For consecutive years, we have been ranked second all over India. So second problem I see is the trafficking issue, especially on the border areas of West Bengal. And so thirdly, I see that even on health parameters, even though West Bengal is better, but the women health issue is still, because of the patriarchy and social issue, they still linger on different parameters. So,
What is state government doing for that? All these three issues, what are the steps taken by state government?
so with regard to child marriage, there is already a scheme called Kanya Shri Prakalp. So the main objective of this scheme was to curb child marriage, because the girl, only when she turns 18 and remain unmarried, only then she will get the financial assistance. And for the trafficking part, there have been local battalions of the police being created around the border areas, and they are currently working with the BSF on that part. And sir, speaking of the health, many like the Swasthya many social schemes are designed for it. But however, so in my opinion, I see that on the implementation part at the grassroots level, there is still some gap, and so this can be filled.
How you will fill that gap if you are deputed or posted as district magistrate?
So one area is to get continuous data on these different parameters. So even while I was searching, I found difficulty in the trafficking data part. So second, at the grassroots level, I would infuse technology to find out what is the current update. And thirdly, sir, I would look at tailored made solution for different locations. For example, sir, in certain areas, even if the marriage, the Kanya Shri scheme is there, but the main issue is not about the financial assistance. It's about people, they are not finding the local jobs. So I would like to work on the cost factors.
So the solution part comes third. First, you would like to know the data, and you think you can solve the problem of child marriage through technology.
Sir, I would want updated data and regular data as to find out what is the condition of that district. And third, would work on the cause.
Do you know the difference between a technocrat and a bureaucrat?
Sir, exact difference I might not be aware, but it is one, maybe the former is too much dependent on technology, while the other, through, sir, I think administration or bureaucracy, but sir, I'm not exactly aware.
Do you think you have a technocratic approach towards social issues rather than more people, rather than bureaucratic and people friendly?
So my approach is more from inside, it is more humane to understand the human issues. But on practical field, from one place to another, technology or finding the data is important, and then work on the exact reasons. There, with people and people's participation, I keep priority.
What do you mean by armchair bureaucracy?
So armchair bureaucracy, it means that a person, a bureaucrat, is working mostly through his office and less presence on field.
Why you think women has to be empowered in Indian society? We have this, concept or debate going on that it's very important for women to be empowered. Why is there such a compulsion, and why all have to be empowered? I mean, the way we have been progressing all this while, why there is a need to change that gender balance? Any particular reason which you believe in?
Sir, I think that when everybody is included in the development process, we get the maximum output and we leverage everybody's effort. So women, or for that matter, transgender and other communities as well, along with men, they all bring their own assets for society. And that must be tapped upon through education, through their skilling, through their health. And so secondly, I see that the value of inclusive development. So a development which shares a fruit with everybody. That is the true meaning of development, sir.
Okay. You have this habit of reflective diary writing. Huh? What is that you have written recently, which you want to share with us?
So recently, I have written on one particular aspect that while I was traveling from public places, I have observed that in the different park areas, the parents are sitting with their kids. And I have seen a continuous pattern that the kids are now less on the ground and mostly they are playing video games or anything on their mobile phone. So this I have reflected as a trend, which is I found it is strange that they are not playing on ground.
That brings us to the topic that we are watching podcast also on mobile.
So that should come in free time. Yes, sir.
That is one of the misuse of technology,
Yes, sir.
right? What are the psychological impacts of having too much screen time, right? Scrolling through the different apps. What are the possible psychological impact which you can think of?
So one comes from my mind from a recent report that was going around the social media platform like Instagram and Facebook. They have cited the content that they show to the young adolescents that trigger them to take body shaming and psychological thing of feeling the inferiority complex. So that triggers a kind of a person sees oneself in a weaker side. That may trigger suicide also. So second, I see a kind of addiction syndrome that a person is stick to the mobile phone and disconnects from the natural surrounding. So that is also one area.
Who is currently the district magistrate in Sandesh Khali?
Sir, I haven't come across this.
Your interview is on 7th of March.
Yes.
On 6th of March, Honorable Prime Minister plans to visit Sandesh Khali. Do you think intervention of such a senior political figure is needed?
Sir, prima facie, I have read a report today that he is coming for one inauguration of the AIMS Kalyani. and he's mostly would be present in the Barashat region. However, he also mentioned, sir, but however, I did not listen directly, but from reports only, that he would open and allow the Shandesh Khali women to visit. In my opinion, sir, I do not find it problematic. However, I find it more encouraging to highlight such issues and find a political also an administrative solution to this.
There's a saying that what uh, Bengal thinks today, India thinks tomorrow, right? Do you think that in today's time it's the opposite? What India thinks today, Bengal thinks maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow in terms of development?
So this popular statement that was given once, I think, by Gopal Krishna Gokhale. So this statement, I think, in today's time, it reflects the idea of West Bengal. But on the development part, sir, I don't completely agree that West Bengal is lagging. But there are certain areas which Bengal needs to catch up with our other counterparts. And this spirit of healthy competition only will make us come at par, at least on the development area. But I think, sir, much has already been done in the development areas.
Have you heard of the Singur issue? Can you take us through the whole issue? What it was about?
Sir, this Singur issue happened when there was a left government in West Bengal and a company of Tata. They wanted to establish the first Tata Nano factory there. And a case came out that in order to build that factory, the land were taken from the local farmers. But it came out that even the land that was fertile was also taken. And so there was a widespread protest by the local people that they have not been given the right compensation. And as a result, sir, this widespread agitation by the people led to a movement, Singur movement, and ultimately in the next year itself, the factory was shifted to Gujarat.
Do you think it still impacts the development of Bengal? And Bengal is still, uh, stuck with Singur only.
So I see that after that period, there was some sort of a kind of hesitation among the investors to come to Bengal. But today the picture has changed, because when we look at IT sector or the BPO sector, even the service sector is flourishing here with continuous investment coming. So in the last 2 and 3 years, the FDI investment in Kolkata itself has increased by 78%. So which shows that on the ground the situation is indeed changing, but more need to be changed on the perception part.
Where are all these investments going? Because I don't see any industrialization in Bengal. So, where are these investments going, and uh, the, how are we progressing in terms of industrialization?
So in West Bengal, there has been an area which is the IT sector, if I say, the surrounding areas of Kolkata, which is on the Salt Lake Sector 5 or the New Town region. So there, for example, very recently Wipro has announced a kind of technological hub, and the IT parks are coming. So investment are being seen, and more industrial corridors are underway. But sir, I also feel that in terms of the clusters, that is too much South Bengal. That may also shift to North Bengal area as well.
What is the total amount of investment which Bengal has received in last 2 years?
So in the last the business summit, Bengal Business Summit, more than 1 lakh crore was announced. But for the last 2 years, sir, I have to recollect that.
Are the commitments being matched? What is the actual investment made? Because that is the problem. We are making commitments, but we are not actually getting the investment from the investors.
Yes, sir. There have been also reports that many a times the MOUs, the Memorandum of Understanding, which the investors state, they do not make it. There's one reason, because by the time the investors, from the initial promise or at the time of implementation, they are not under any legal obligation. And as an investor, they at times find other places more lucrative than Bengal. And currently, sir, more than 30% has already the investment have been made. Yes, sir.
Where does Bengal rank in terms of ease of doing business?
Sir, it is ranked at 10th position.
How, as an IAS officer, you will take it to first position? What will be your top five uh, plan of action?
So first would be about the e-governance part. So whatever clearances and everything that is required, that can be made completely digital. So second part is about the logistics policy. Recently, Ministry of Commerce has highlighted that West Bengal does not have a official logistics policy. So that can be worked upon right from a district mapping level at least. So third, I would say the regular meeting through backdoor channels and backdoor tracking. If at the administrative level it can be connected, that part I would look. So fourth, I would also look at the local opportunities where investment can happen, like through one district, one product. If that area can be connected with investors. And fourthly, I would look at also some other sectors. So recently, tourism sector in West Bengal has been termed in the category of the industry. The hospitality sector has in the industrial sector. So such kind of initiatives help in rebate to a specific sector. That area I would also look into. Sir.
Yes, Priya. So, continuing from Sir's discussion, do you know where Sandesh Khali is? I mean, in which district does it come under?
Ma'am, it is in North 24 Paraganas.
So, since you could not name the district magistrate of North 24 Parganas, let us suppose it is Priya Purohit. So, how would have Priya Purohit handled the things that that are coming out in Sandesh Khali now? Suppose you were posted in Sandesh Khali a year ago, and you found the issues that were there. So, how would have you prevented what has happened in Sandesh Khali today?
My first is that I would ask them to go to the police stations and make a complaint. But however, from the prima facie, it has come out that maybe these complaints were not taken. So for that, I would have created an alternative of creating an at the BDO level, which is currently now taking place. At the administrative level, some centers which are only run by women officers, so that women feel initial trust to come and register their complaints. Second would be to discuss with my counterparts and make these forces available where there are cases of land grabbing and where the water has been given on the land areas. And thirdly, I myself would visit these areas and take these women and villagers in confidence and to assure them if there is any wrongdoing that will be solved through legal path in the time bound manner.
Very good, Priya. Acha, tell me, since we discussed about the negativities of listening to podcasts and all these technological things, do we need a China-like policy to control the use of social media in India?
Yes, ma'am. In China, there has been a restriction specifically on the timing also. Ma'am, in India or in any place, I see that such things would not be very productive because often students find their own way of learning also and they make a way through these technology. However, I think that from school level, if proper guideline and teachings are made to student right from class 8 onwards, what are the actual disadvantage or benefits of it, then they would be more responsible in using it.
Okay. So it seems you're a spiritual person. Have spirituality in any way helped you during your times in civil service preparation?
Yes, ma'am.
How?
Ma'am, in one way that I have actually picked up this spiritual habit in my life, like listening to bhajan or mantra chanting from last 3 or 2.5 years. This has helped me to become more peaceful person, and I'm able to manage the daily stress better way. And second is about the self awareness. At times, I do understand the areas where I need to work. At times, it is maybe about my food habit, or at times, the sleep. So I get this understanding from inside. I guess it is from spirituality.
Okay. So do you suggest to other fellow aspirants like you?
Ma'am, I suggest that it is up to the person. Any form of the self time in terms of yoga, meditation, or any spiritual practice which they find better. It can be, ma'am, even listening to music also. But it is up to them. But I do suggest taking out some time.
Okay, since you're a spiritual person, and recently, we are seeing that many Hindu temples are being built and consecrated. For example, the Ayodhya temple and another one in UAE, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
So, how do you think these are, helping us? How does building a temple help a country?
Ma'am, few temples or one temple in India particularly. These are the temples that resonate a very deep cultural importance and significance of Indian society. The Ayodhya Mandir has been related to that. And ma'am, with regard to the Abu Dhabi, the UAE, I see that it was actually to in order to honor more than 30% Indian origin people that are living there, which and in that 90% are Hindu practicing Hindus. So it is for them. And overall, I see that temple construction or any religious place, it helps one on the people find a place to visit and connect with their own way of culture. And second, on the spiritual tourism part, it also helps a country to showcase that beauty part as well.
Okay. Since we discussed about this, tell me three most important diplomatic wins that India has had in the recent past.
Ma'am, one I would say from Qatar, we were successfully able to get all the 8 Navy men. Second, I would say that even our view on the Russia-Ukraine war was not it was not the exact way of sanctioning Russia. But even then, I see that India's technological deal with USA has been a diplomatic victory. And thirdly, ma'am, I would say that India has been able to maintain its position at the United Nations Security Council when it was a non-permanent member on the security part in Afghanistan. So that part I also see it was a win.
Okay. So, Priya, what is the election scenario in US currently?
Ma'am, currently the actual elections will come in November, and the pre-election part, it is the phase where the different political parties, the Democratic and Republicans, within that party there is a contest going on in different states to select their nominee for the party. So currently there is a race going on between Donald Trump and Nikki Haley, and whereas from the Democratic, Joe Biden has been fixed.
So, Joe Biden is above 80, right?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
Trump is also 77 plus. So, do you think there should be a retirement age for politicians as well?
Ma'am, I see that politics is an area where the purpose and this sort of things matter more. But in my opinion, I see that there should be certain age, at least 80 or maybe 75, to for the retirement in politics as well.
Okay. So that way our Prime Minister may also have to retire before this election. What would you say?
And I see that a person did not come out from active politics, but in terms of the official positions, uh, that can be made, the age, retirement age can be made. But that should also come considering the historical average age of politicians taking that position.
Okay, clear. So you're interested in reflective diary writing. What are the other types of diary writing? If reflective diary writing is one.
Ma'am, another is the journal writing, where a person usually writes every day
Mhm.
and everyday experiences also. And ma'am, second is more on the budgeting part, where a family or any person just maintains a financial recordings of every day.
Okay. And it seems you also won extempore competition. What was the topic on which you talked?
Ma'am, it was in class around 11, but I remember the topic was on technology. Is it boon or bane? That was the topic.
So what do you think? Is it boon or bane?
Ma'am, my stand was it is boon. Technology is a boon for those who use it, but eventually it becomes bane on how we are using it. And I see that this how we are using it's not just the fault of the user, but also how that product is designed or regulated. So this is a layered part in how it becomes a problem. But largely it is coming out as a good solution.
Okay. So you were also interested in entrepreneurship. Convince me that if you get selected in civil services, you'll not have entrepreneurship also entrepreneurship thing going on parallelly, or probably leave civil services after a few years, or and jump into entrepreneurship. Why would you not do that, or would you do that?
No, ma'am. My
Why not?
my objective has been clear from class 12 onwards that I want to become part of a civil services. However, as a commerce student, when I've understood the principles of how business works, how a product is has come into market, I want to apply those principles in how a civil administration works. So when I listen the stories of IS officers, for example, from Bastar, he creates a project of startup Bastar program. So these are the areas which inspires me more, and that is how I want to put my knowledge into civil administration.
Okay. I also see you have worked somewhere as a project manager. What was your role there?
Ma'am, this was a company leverage growth. My initial role was to help in initial planning of a project of a edtech platform where I would connect the students and the colleges and some financial niche companies on a platform so where they can find the jobs according to their skills.
Okay. Since I see your father was a marketing manager, Priya, tell me, suppose you're in a district where there are too many SHGs. How will you guide them or help them to improve their marketing?
In any place, ma'am, I see that if there are self-help groups, one they have to work is about the work upon the product and service competitiveness. If they are producing similar kind of product on a very large scale, that might not be beneficial to them. So I would rather give them the initial input as to how they can diversify. Second, I would also ask them to work on their advantage. If some are more, for example, one may have a locational advantage because of procuring something like a honey product or a raw product. So I would advise them to work on that. And largely, if they can also get a chance to deliver the product not just in local areas, but in all across India. So then they can also understand the different market niche. So I would help to work on that part.
Okay, Priya, my last question to you. It is often said that there are too many civil servants in India, but too little civil service. What do you think about this?
Ma'am, I see that even the civil servants, many reports have highlighted that they are less in number and they require more. And in terms of civil services, I see that currently it is there are a number of services that cater to the public only at large. However, here diversification may happen as a good suggestion, whether it is about the legal service, judicial service, or health service, which again cater to the public. But I think ma'am, more study is required in this area.
Okay, Priya. Thank you.
Here you are a spiritual person.
Yes, sir.
Have you heard about Sthiti Pragya?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
Sir, so from some faint idea, Sthit Pragya is a position where a person is not looking at the result. A person is completely devolved in the process.
So do you think it is applicable in civil services too?
Yes, sir. To a large extent, it is applicable to civil services. For a person to become, for example, Karm Yogi, focusing on the Karm and not the result as to what I or a person can get. but what the overall society can get. So that is less about oneself and more about the work and the result for the society.
From where does this concept of sthiti pragya comes? From which book or which text of which religious text actually?
So in Bhagavad Gita, there is an area where Lord Krishna is telling about different type of yogs. So this is Sthit Pragya he mentioned.
What was the context? Can you remember the context of this dialogue when Lord Krishna is guiding Arjun to be sthiti pragya? What was the context there?
So the overall situation in which he said, or the just prior to this topic.
Arjuna was going through stressful time.
Yes, sir.
So, what had happened before this dialogue? I'm asking about that event.
So the event actually started when Arjun was about to start the battle against the Kauravas. But just in the middle of that battleground, Arjuna becomes very anxious, and there is a inner question or doubt about his action because he does not want to wage a war against his own relatives. So that is where he starts asking questions to Krishna, his charioteer. And this is a dialogue that Krishna gives about how work should be done and what is the way we should make action in life.
How many avatars of Lord Vishnu is there?
So there are, it is said in popularly, it is said there are 10 avatars.
All the 10 avatars have been taken incarnation.
So the last one, the Kalki avatar, is still not taken.
What is the importance of Kalki avatar?
So Kalki avatar is assumed that is an avatar of Vishnu, which will come in the Kalyug part. And it is said that when Kalyug will reach a stage of the maximum destruction and chaos, that is when a god will come in form of an avatar and will save and recreate that order of dharma and peace.
Okay, Priya, tell me about Upanishads. What do you mean by Upanishads?
So Upanishads are part of Vedas. They are the fourth part of Veda. So Upanishads mostly talk about the message on spiritual ideas only. So whereas in Upanishads we find less of ritualistic ideas and more about the basic concepts.
How many Upanishads are there?
So there are around 108, but sir, many say that it is maybe more than that.
Okay. Has it been divided into major Upanishads and minor Upanishads?
So from little understanding, I know that there are different types of Upanishads, like the Kathono Upanishad, but sir, the major minor division, I'm not clear, sir.
Okay. So your optional subject is political science and international relations, and you are from commerce background.
Yes, sir.
Why this shift?
Sir, in college itself, or when I came to civil services, when I had to pick one optional, so I wanted to pick another subject which is different from my graduation. And out of interest, I picked this. And sir, I think I like this optional subject.
What excites you in PSIR?
So it is the international relation and the current happenings. It excites me.
Okay, then I'm not going to ask questions from that part.
Okay, sir.
So tell me about your favorite Western political thinker.
Sir, I would say favorite, but sir, I think I was intrigued by his ideas, and that is Machiavelli, and one is Plato.
Machiavelli and Plato.
Yes, sir.
How do you compare both of them?
So for Plato, he has an idealistic understanding of the state and politics, whereas Machiavelli has more realistic understanding, where he keeps the interest of the state more and ethics less. And so secondly, one comparison can also be seen that Plato is making ideas for a philosopher king as to how to best ruler state. And Machiavelli is also making those ideas for his prince. So these two comparisons can be made.
But the ideas given by both of them are too different. One is idealistic and the other is realistic. Don't you think that you are choosing two extremes?
Sir, it just in terms of interest, I find them different because the lessons Plato has given for the philosopher king to rule a state and a philosopher king who is selected after a rigorous steps, and ultimately he is the person who should look for the maximum interest of the people. Whereas yes, Machiavelli has more too much of end part and not on the means part.
Okay, well, when we talk about Western political thought, we call Kautilya as Indian Machiavelli. Shouldn't we call Machiavelli as European Kautilya?
Yes, sir. In fact, in recent time, again, this demand has been raised that Machiavelli should be called the Western Cordelier. Sir, I think it comes from the point that when this political science study started, it was initially dominated by the Western scholars, and that has spread to different parts of the nation. So they kept the benchmark as the Western scholars. In that way, they compared Cordelier.
Okay, Priya, what do you mean by Eurocentrism?
So Eurocentrism is a way of looking different aspects of life, politics, state through the European viewpoint. So it is mostly keeping the again benchmark from the European style.
Okay, now let's come to your interest area. What is the current issue of Red Sea?
So currently the Red Sea issue has been escalated because the Houthis in the Yemen area, they have made multiple strikes on the merchant vessels that were going from Red Sea and that were directed to Israel or US part. And as a result, US, UK, and other nations have made the retaliatory strikes. So, sir, currently this issue is going on.
How is India going to navigate through this situation?
Sir, for India, one point is clear that India is up for the maritime security, and India has already placed its navy in the sea in order to retaliate if there is any strike on the any navy that comes, any merchant vessel that comes from India. And second, India is also looking for alternative routes, crossing that African Cape of Good Hope routes.
Okay, Priya, what do you mean by Sagar doctrine?
So it is a doctrine by India, which is the security and growth for all in the region. It is the doctrine that places the interest of island nations in Indian oceans, and it is a kind of doctrine that makes India as a net security provider for these island nations, along with their development.
Okay. Do you find any change or any shift in foreign policy of India in recent times?
Yes, see, I see some changes in the foreign policy parts.
What are those changes?
So one part is on the idealistic and the realistic balance that Indian foreign policy is making currently. That has been shifted. So second I see is the term that has been also recently given, and that is the fast track diplomacy. So the diplomatic negotiations are happening on a faster pace. So earlier there used to be a comment that India really delays negotiation, but today it is not the case. And thirdly, I see, sir, our engagement with the world and meeting with different nations and people to people engagement that has also become deepened.
Why India is demanding for UN reforms?
Sir, India is demanding for UN reforms for multiple reasons. So, one is that the world order in the past 4 decades or so has changed. And today, the global power is just not concentrated in these P5 or few selected nations. India, being an economic power, has that right. The second is the population and demographic change has also happened. And thirdly, India is of the view that equitable representation. Currently, Africa is not popularly represented at the UNSC level. So, such kind of reforms India is looking forward to.
Don't you think that India lacks a strong voice in the matters of global importance? What is your view about it?
So I see that India does not lack any major say in the most of the current issues. In fact, India's view is more Indian way of looking the problems. The Russia-Ukraine war, for example, the official stand has come out that this is not an era of war. And in fact, this statement from India has been used by most popular leaders across the world. And so, second, India's say at major platforms like WTO or at the UN, it matters. And the current P5 nations, all the four nations except China, in fact, agrees to what are the demands of India.
Okay, Priya. So India is said to be mother of democracy, right? On one hand, you are representing the voice of global South,
Yes, sir.
and you talk about democracy on all the global platforms. And on the other hand, you are collaborating with military in Myanmar. You are supplying arms to them. Isn't it contradictory? Isn't it going to break the faith of those nations of global South? What is your view about it?
So I see that the official stand of India for Myanmar is clear that we are up and we are looking for democracy and again the revival of democratic model in Myanmar. So second, with regard to the conversation with Myanmar, that is mostly on the practical basis because we have our interest on the borders along the northeastern states. And thirdly, India is not completely cautious free. In fact, the recent step to make a border on the northeastern states and end the free movement regime is actually taken into consideration of the democratic decline. So I think, sir, we are more pressing for democracy.
Okay, Priya, what is social contract theory?
Sir, social contract theory, it states that state itself is not a natural phenomenon. State has to be created on the basis of a contract that is made in society by the people. So scholars like Hobbes and Sir Rousseau, they were initial people who said that through social contract theory, a state can be created.
So, Priya, you were asked about question. You are asked a question about bonds. Can political parties raise money through bond? Do you think that electoral bond is constitutional anymore?
Sir, electoral bonds. Yes, sir. Recently, the Honorable Supreme Court has also made comment on that. Sir, I think it was the unconstitutional on the part of how it is raised in the lack of openness and transparency. And in this regard, it has been made unconstitutional.
Okay, so judgment has been passed by the Supreme Court.
Yes, sir.
So the present status is that political parties cannot raise money through electoral bonds.
Yes, sir.
Do you agree?
So I see that yes, there is merit to this judgment because the very design of how it is being raised is very opaque. And so if that can be worked and made very transparent, then we can move to a more transparent way of bond.
Last question, Priya. What is the difference between old social movements and new social movements?
So old social movements are the movements that were raised in the public for demands like poverty, hunger, and it was mostly raised by the upper middle class who used to mobilize people. And the way of protest was also very traditional through protest on streets. Whereas the new social movement is again a kind of movement by the people but on newer topics like gender rights, environment rights, the transgender rights. And the way they are putting these movements is also changed. Like they are using technology and films to raise their protest.
Priya, we have been listening to slogans like Jai Shri Ram. So, do you think it is right to have such slogans in political rallies or in sometimes in any public event? What's your take on that?
So my take is that in politics, religious should not become the prime factor. And I personally said do not support too much use of these slogans in the political rallies.
Okay. So, why are we making only temples and not church or masjid, mosque? Why is the government only focusing on construction of temples?
Sir, initially from the recent events, it may appear that only temple construction is on the plan. But sir, one government has not taken any official policy on building any temple. It is mostly coming out from the people trust and the people's organization.
But it is inaugurated by government officials or government leaders only.
Yes, sir.
So, why are we not inaugurating other religious institutions? Do you really think India is secular anymore?
Sir, I see India is secular, but because India, right from the inception, has been a case of sui generis. It is a different way of secularism, where we want to take every religion together. And sir, currently, I also see that yes, there is a inauguration of one particular community, but it should be balanced and a message should go to the public that this should be for all other religions.
So we are not doing that. You agree to us? Agree with us that we are not inaugurating or building other religious institutions.
Sir, in terms of building, that is not coming from government for any religion, but in terms of the presence and participation, I think, sir, it can be more on for the other side as well, just to create that public inclusive perception.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.